Hi guys, I'm back with another podcast with our special guest today is Tyler Sarfert. You want to introduce yourself, Tyler?
What's going on, everyone? I'm Tyler Sarfert. I am 21 from Mays Landing, New Jersey, and if you don't know where that is, it's right outside Atlantic City. And I write original music. I post covers on YouTube, the whole shebang, playing live, and yeah, hopefully you get to know me.
So my first question for you, some of this I already know since we've been talking before, but I want to get into one question and then get into one of the regular things that we do called Daily Wavelengths, where it's like we go into what we've been listening to, either throwbacks or like recently released music.
Sweet.
So my first question for you. So what are your influences?
My influences range everywhere from like old 2000s rock, like kind of the punk emo stuff, all the way to Prince and Hall & Oates, that sort of pop vibe and funkiness I love. And so I just sort of like to, and One Republic, I really like just the combination of acoustic real instruments with synths, and I just think it's the best of both worlds, and I love music like that.
Okay. So, and I like that too. I respect that.
Yeah.
So, getting on like stuff that you've been listening to recently, has that, since those are like pretty much the things that you are drawn to, what artist are you listening to right now?
Right. So right now, I can even check my phone. Like when I walked in here, I was listening to Sabrina Claudio, and she's literally the love of my life. And I just love like that R&B sort of vibe. What else? I have The Weeknd's new stuff on here. I have a band called Fits and the Tantrums. Are you familiar with them?
No.
They're sort of funky. It's a guy and a girl, sort of like Motown-esque, but still modern. And I really like that. Like I was saying in the beginning, there's a guy named Bazzi, if that's how you say it. Whatever's new, I'm sort of just checking it out, seeing what people are coming up with. And what new sounds people are using in the direction of music, and just sort of trying to stay up to date on all of that.
Yeah. I fall short sometimes. I usually stay in like a certain zone. Like,
I feel that.
And I just stay there for like at least a week, unless like something new comes out that I know is coming out. Then I like go over there. Specifically for The Weeknd's new album, or EP. People say it's considered an EP since it's like five. How many songs? Like 6 songs?
I think it's like 6.
6 songs. So it's like one song before what an EP would normally be.
Let me see. Yep, it's 6. 6 songs.
Yeah, because the balance for the business aspect of it is if it's 5 songs or less, it's an EP. But if it's like 6 songs or above, it's considered like an album. Which is weird. So how are you feeling about it? Because I've heard that some songs are like that directly citing, well, like he doesn't directly say it, but you can imply that he's talking about his relationship with Selena Gomez.
Right, with Selena Gomez.
And then the aspect of Justin Bieber and all that.
So, I haven't looked into it too much. I did listen to it all the way through a couple of times, and then I really have been jamming his last song, Privilege. It's just, I love the vibe of it. Just how his vocals are sort of haunting, like all throughout the album, you know? And his lyrics, I think the one that's going viral is, I have 2 red pills to take the blues away. And so it's like his lyrics are just so good. But I'm not too hip to the drama behind it, but I do know that I love it. It's such a new sound from his old album, Starboy. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. But it's kind of like he's going back to his roots almost, though, too.
Yeah, people have been saying that too, saying that it's like classic Weeknd.
Yeah, it is.
It's not as poppy as it used as like Starboy pretty much was. People said Starboy was pretty much a more pop version of himself instead of the more organic like lyrics. Yeah. But I haven't got a chance to listen to it.
Yeah, it's good. Worth a listen.
I need to check it out. What I've been listening to daily. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tink.
Tink? No.
She's an independent artist. She's been co-signed by Timbaland.
Okay.
But she's working with him, and she just recently released an EP called Pain and Pleasure, which is probably she has mixtapes on SoundCloud and DatPiff that I've recently listened to. Well, been listening to for years, so she's been out for years. But
what kind of genre?
She's I would say more R&B stuff, like R&B hip hop. She started off doing both, rapping and singing at the same time. So she was like during that wave, like during like I think she came out. Getting my dates mixed up, but around the time when Drake came out, probably like a few years after he came out, she was like doing mixtapes and stuff like that. So
I'll definitely check her out.
So she's been out for a long time, but it's more like R&B stuff. But my favorite songs have to be a song called "Get You Home."
Okay.
It's kind of like a sexual song. Like it's a good like sexual song, like a vibey like sexual.
Yeah.
Like has like I like the synths in the background, and then her like she has a certain way of singing that's very interesting. She has like a I'm trying to think of who I can compare it to.
What was that song we were just talking about?
Get You Home.
Get You Home.
Get You Home.
I'll start with that.
And then another song I really like is MIA and Faded. So those are my three favorite songs off of this EP.
Cool.
I've also been listening to if my Spotify will work. It never works. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this artist either. His name is Eric Bellinger.
No.
But he started off as a songwriter. He's written songs with Chris Brown, like Fine China, that single. He's written with like a lot of big names in the music industry. Then he recently released a single with Tink as well. She's on this with him, and Mila J, who's Janae Aiko's sister.
Really?
So Mila J is another one of my favorite artists as well. And she has some projects called February that was an EP of hers as well that I think you should check out if you're like into like it's more of like a harder R&B. She's not. It doesn't sound anything like her sister.
What's her name?
Mila J.
Mila J. Yeah, I'm really into R&B, so.
And she's been in the game for probably I think 5 years now.
Okay.
But she's been in the industry for a long time, and she was as a young kid she was in a Prince video.
Oh wow!
And she was dancing in Diamonds and Pearls.
Oh really?
As a little kid.
That's awesome.
So she's been in the industry for a while. And then of course her sister Janae Aiko, you know what she's been doing with her latest album. Yeah. My favorite is Sativa. That's my favorite off of that album.
Yeah, I haven't given that one a listen.
That's a good one to listen to also. Another person I've been listening to, I'm not sure if you know him as well, but his name is Keenan Lonsdale. He's from, most people would know him from the new movie Love, Simon. But he's been acting for a while, so he's been on like mostly Canadian shows. Okay. Like a show called Dance Academy that was out probably like early 2000s and ended probably like early 2010s. Then he's actually Wally West on The Flash.
Oh really?
So he's been working for a long time, but he recently just started releasing music. And what I like about this song is called Kiss the Boy. He recently came out as bisexual. So this is pretty much like a queer anthem for the LGBT community and just people, period. So I really appreciate
it's like a top song.
Yeah, it's like his top song right now. So that's a good song to listen to. I think anybody can listen to and relate to it. It's just pretty much just a love song, just about acceptance, accepting yourself and accepting love. So I respect that. And I think... Oh, wait, hold on. Before I forget. I got a lot of stuff. I had my notes and I forgot them out.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. What the hell? Okay, so another thing that I think are you familiar with Toni Braxton?
Mm-hmm.
So she's recently released an album called Sex and Cigarettes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I wanted to give that a listen.
So from what I've heard, I haven't heard the full album yet, because I've been so busy. But the singles that she released are Deadwood and Deadwood and Long As I Live.
Okay.
So those songs I'm mostly familiar with, and I really like those songs.
I see a collaboration with Colby Calais.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was interested in that too. I didn't get a chance to listen to that, but the songs I have listened to have been the first 4 songs, which is Deadwood, Sex and Cigarettes, Long As I Live, and FOH.
Mm-hmm.
FOH is kind of like an interlude.
Okay.
In a way, it's like
I like this. Sometimes those are my favorite on like people's albums.
Yeah, interludes have most of the time are usually my favorite.
Yeah.
I feel like they just something about the aspect of it throughout the album makes it fit better. But pretty much my favorite songs would probably have to be Long As I Live in Deadwood, even though they're the singles. Usually I usually like the rest of the album before I like the singles.
I was listening to Demi Lovato's new album, actually.
I haven't listened to it. I haven't been listening to Demi Lovato like I should.
Yeah, her new album is really good. It's pretty soulful, actually. Like, she's got those vocals that I didn't know she had it in it. Like, it was nuts. So, definitely worth a listen.
What's the name of the album?
I'm not sure. I just looked up
It's the newest one, right?
It was the newest one. There's tons of good songs. The lyrics are good. The beats are good. Her vocals are amazing. Definitely check that out.
I think I'm done. Damn. Well, at least for the stuff I've been listening to recently.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any like throwbacks that you've been listening to? I know you're influenced by Prince and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I do like Prince. I've been oh, real quick, do you know Daniel Caesar?
Oh, I live for him.
Yeah, I've been listening to him. I'm just going back in there's Jasmine Sullivan.
You know Jasmine Sullivan?
You already know.
Tyler? I didn't know you knew Jasmine Sullivan.
I'm really into that soulful R&B music. What else I got? Do you know Alan Stone?
Alan Stone. Give me a song.
There's a song called Unaware.
Just by the title, I think I would like it. But
you would really like it. I've been jamming him like crazy. I mean, those alone, between Jasmine Sullivan, Daniel Caesar, and Alan Stone, like, you could listen to that for a month.
I can't. Did you hear, there's a song with Jasmine Sullivan and this girl named Nia?
Mm-mm.
Did you hear this song? It's called, oh my god, I can't believe that I forgot this damn song. But, the artist's name is, Nia. Okay. It's pronounced Naya, I think. That's how it's pronounced. But it's a song with her and Jasmine Sullivan, and just the harmonies alone will just wreck your life.
Wow.
Especially with, like, Jasmine's lower register. Like, that's where she lives. Like, that's probably my favorite part of her voice.
Naya?
And just the tone. Let me see.
Yeah, go for
it. 2 Eyes.
Oh.
I think it should come up. Yeah, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. So you have Apple Music, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, Apple Music is...
So...
I'll be able to find it after that.
So Jasmine Sullivan, it's a song. It's on... Whatever her recent album is, it's on that one, I believe.
Okay.
So that should help you.
Cool, I'll check that out.
So... Do you have any throwbacks you've been listening to?
Throwbacks? Haven't been listening to much. Haven't been listening to many throwbacks recently. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I do. R. Kelly, Bump and Grind. I was jamming that.
Old classic.
Yep. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, that's a good classic one.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while, you have to go back to that stuff.
This stuff is so funny sometimes, man.
Anything else you
No,
that's pretty much it.
Out of my most recent, scrolling for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you?
I've been lax on this as well. Usually I'm pretty much straight into throwbacks, but since there's so much music that's recently come out,
so much music
that are people that I actually listen to,
there's
pretty much just listening to all their music and trying to catch up to everything.
I was jamming Through the Fire, Shaka Khan.
Oh, that's my...
You know?
Oh my God, that's my song. I love Shaka Khan.
Yeah.
You know the song Stay?
Maybe if I heard it.
Her and Rufus.
No.
Oh my God, that song is like life for me. Erykah Badu did a tribute to her in like probably early 2010s, probably 2013.
Okay.
She performed, and Fantasia did a tribute to her as well.
Wow.
So you know that was great.
Yeah.
Fantasia just blows. So yeah, I've always loved Shaka Khan. She's one of my favorites. So yeah, I haven't been listening to as much throwbacks as I wanted to. I've been so trying to catch up to everything.
Yeah, there's a lot that's happening.
There's a lot of good music coming out. At least from the people that I listen to.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff that I hear.
And then all this new stuff I have to check out. It's like, you know.
Mm-hmm. There's always new music that you can check out just by asking your friends.
Right.
Yeah. And then I didn't know that you were actually into R&B.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
That's interesting because I didn't know that you were so into R&B like that.
Mm-hmm.
So getting on to that. So what about... I know you talked about the acoustic and the whole synths and all of that coming together and making like a beautiful marriage of music. So what about R&B is...
Yeah.
So what draws you to R&B?
So I like R&B because, well, I started off with gospel music, and I really like gospel music for, I think the musicians are always ridiculous. The arrangements are great. The melodies are so catchy. And the runs are so hard, you know, and I just love that aspect of it, and I feel like R&B and soul music sort of capture some of those aspects.
It's very influenced by that.
So I've just naturally sort of moved my way over to that vibe, and there's just something about R&B that catches a particular emotion that I think other music like rock and, you know, heavy metal, like that stuff can't capture it. You know, if you listen to, for example, we were just talking about her, Jasmine Sullivan, or, you know, you hear it go high or you hear it go low, you just feel it and just feel it in her voice and with the music. It's just something special. So I've always been attracted to R&B for those reasons, whether it's just smooth and it's nice.
Yeah, you know? I'm the same way. I'm pretty much an R&B head first, and then hip hop is naturally like a transition for me because R&B and hip hop have been so in with each other since especially with the changeover in like the 90s where it was like definitely like a collaboration between R&B artists and hip hop. Yeah, and that's what helped hip hop get more popularized, in my opinion. Right. So I've always been into that, like 112, Total. Then some recent stuff like when Diddy did like the Diddy Dirty Money, with like Dawn Richards from Danity Kane and Kalina. It was very futuristic, and I don't feel like people actually gave it a chance. Yeah,
I even like the classic. Like, do you listen to Boyz II Men?
Boyz II Men, Life.
Listen to
New Edition, True.
True, man.
All the old.
I was jamming Troop the other day.
All the old R&B groups are like my life.
They're just great.
Yeah, it's just you can just go back and I hate to say this, but I feel like we're missing some of that. I wouldn't say, because there's still great artists out. Yeah, but I feel like some of the emotion is gone. Because I feel like it's coming back slowly.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's more R&B artists are trying to sound a little bit more like rappers instead of being R&B artists.
Yeah.
So that's kind of taking out the raw
If
feel
anything,
of it.
the music is a lot like that. The music's more moving towards a hip-hop sort of vibe.
It's losing less of the...
It's losing less of the
It's
the
losing
character.
less of it's losing a lot of the melody, too.
Mm.
I think it's more beat-driven now.
Yeah, exactly.
R&B, instead of the melodies and like, because you go back to even like Motown stuff.
Yep.
Like, the melody is what got you. It wasn't necessarily the beat of it or like maybe the drum beat that was going in the background. It's pretty much the melody and just the different like tones.
Yeah.
Of whoever was singing it. Like,
right.
Like Smokey Robinson, like his older stuff. Then you go to Prince, even though it's more, he was still influenced by R&B.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you can hear those influences on his voice in certain songs. And then you go into the rockers, more rockish songs, so there's still a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
But I think we're still getting to that. Then we have people like Daniel Caesar, who's coming out. Then you have people like Anderson .Paak. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with
that? Did you listen to his new song yet?
I didn't get a chance to.
That one's good.
One. Oh, and speaking of Sabrina Claudio, she has a song with Khalid.
Yeah, just came out 2 days ago.
Did you get a chance to listen to it?
Yes, I did.
How is it?
It's good.
Because I feel like I'm going to go into a coma.
There's not one thing that Sabrina Claudio has put out that I haven't liked.
Okay, so...
This one with Khalid is good.
Because I love Khalid, and then I love her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my favorite song, I haven't listened to, like, all of the recent project. But when I first heard... The first song I think I heard from her was called Unravel Me.
Yeah.
And just the atmospheric like aspect of the song, and just the I don't know what she did. She was like, unravel me.
Yeah, it's like a tremolo
like
effect.
The tremolo effect. Whatever she did, that was my favorite part of that song. Like it just kept going on.
It's like its own instrument.
Yeah, I just kept rewinding it back and forth, like between that for like ever. And was like, what is she doing?
The new
with
song
this?
is sort of like it really is a combination of Sabrina Claudio's music and Khalid's sort of more pop flair and just kind of married together into one song. It's so when if you look at Zed and some of the people he collabs with, it sounds like a Zed song. But this is very much like a real mix, and it's really cool. So I'm sure you'll like it.
Speaking of Khalid, did you hear the recent song with him and Normani from Fifth Harmony?
No.
Love Lies. It's off of the Love Simon soundtrack.
Actually, wait, I did. I lied. I have heard that.
Yes, that's another good collaboration. I feel like they just married each other.
Yeah, they did.
Very well. And then the video, I don't know if you saw the video.
I did not see the video.
Oh, the video. I live for that video. It's just everything that I need. Like, like I did a reaction video on my YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you do YouTube too?
Yeah, so I do YouTube now.
Oh, awesome.
So, I've been doing it for a while. So I've been posting this on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spreaker, which is like my thing. So I've been doing like reaction videos probably for about 3.5 months now.
Okay.
So pretty much been.
So there's reaction videos. I always wondered because I watch them sometimes, and it's. So do you see something that comes out, right? Mm-hmm. And then do you just not listen to it until you have a camera in front of you?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
So and in some songs, because of copyright, I can't do it.
Right.
Like, and sometimes I record videos and then it ends up being like blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Like the All the Stars with Kendrick Lamar and SZA. Like I wanted to do this video. I loved the video when I was watching it, and then I got to uploading it, and then it was like it's blocked all around over the place, and then that got blocked. Then SZA's new song for Broken Clocks, I did a video for that, but then that got blocked. So it's like you have to try and figure, and then you see it's annoying because you look at other people's reaction channels, and they actually have those videos up, and it still works, and I'm just like why is my videos not doing this? And I'm like, it is a new channel, so it makes sense.
Well, I got banned from Facebook for life because I was posting cover videos on Facebook, and it got taken down a number of times, and then I got banned a couple of times. So that I stopped, because I'm like, I'm not trying to get banned for life. Because they threatened that they would do that. And so then one day I tried logging in. It's like, you're disabled indefinitely, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, no. And it was right before my birthday, too. Oh, wow. So then my birthday came. I was like, oh, well, I guess no one knows. So that's all right. So then I appealed it 2 or 3 times. And I just got it back last week. So it's been 4 or 5 months without a Facebook. Because they recently signed something with Universal. And
they have been doing some stuff where it's now they're doing stuff where you can actually post covers now.
Yeah.
But it just, how long has that been since?
Probably within the last month or so, because I appealed it when I found that out. I was like, look, everything that you banned me for is perfectly fine now. Can you let me back on?
Yeah.
And then I guess I just tried it one day and it worked. I'm like, okay. I'm good.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And going on that tip, so speaking as an independent artist, what are the challenges of trying to gain an audience, and then also finding your demographic that you know will support you throughout?
Yeah, so a couple different ways. I'll start with the demographic part. Playing a lot of shows helps in a lot of different environments, so you can sort of see which people kind of come up and talk to you after, or buy a CD or a T-shirt, and just sort of narrowing that down, and you sort of have an idea. And also now with like YouTube analytics and Spotify analytics, they sort of have it right in a nice one sheet for you, and you can just check it all out. But so challenges that I would say is, number one for sure is how saturated everything is.
Yes,
there's so much going on at every second of the day, at every hour, and it's just to cut through that is you're just trying to find creative ways. So one video that I did was on Black Friday. I went around and I remixed the popular top 40 songs, and I went to different people waiting in line, and I'm like, name this song, and I had Black Friday themed lyrics, and I was singing to them, and then if they got it 3 right, I'll give them a gift card to the store, And so that video ended up getting around 60,000 views.
Wow.
On Facebook. And so
did you post that on YouTube as well?
I did post that on YouTube. That one didn't catch.
Was it successful or no?
No, not even close. Not even
close.
That's
interesting how on different platforms it.
Yeah, I think it's because with Facebook you can literally share it to a community of people, but YouTube, there's not really a social platform yet with it. So, I got a couple hundred shares, and it just sort of, sparks. So that was cool, but it's just things like that, just trying to find creative ways to cut through all that noise, like what's the next thing? So just keeping consistent, that's kind of hard. Keeping good content out there, not just BS. And what else? I think in this day and age, that's really the hardest part for artists is we just want to focus on our music, but there's a whole nother side of it.
That's the whole business.
Yeah, there's that whole business side that you really need to understand nowadays and really take serious for you to sort of, get on top and get new fans and establish yourself. So I would say those are some big ones.
And speaking on some of the business aspects of it, I've been recently looking at, this is like a recent article I found on Billboard, and it's talking about Sound Exchange.
Yeah.
And what Sound Exchange is, it's where it's pretty much like it's not a
pro.
Yeah, it's not a pro.
Yeah.
And pro is a publishing
performing
rights organization. If I can remember stuff. I know all the stuff, but then like when I say it, it's like
sometimes it gets jumbled.
Yeah, jumbled up in your head. But that's it's a performing rights organization, so it helps pay artists for their work. So if it's on like television, they give you royalties off that, and if it's like just being streamed, there's a royalty for that and stuff like that. But in 2017, it talks about this in this article. Sound Exchange saw a dip in royalty distributions in 2017, citing Pandora label deals. So what's interesting about this is, since it's now become more of a streaming service when it comes to music, so it's more about streaming, and streaming is the main basis of getting music these days.
Yeah.
Like, you have Apple Music.
Yeah.
And then Spotify. And then, like, if you have Tidal, you have Tidal and that comes out.
Right.
Or, like, anything that's in, like, that vein. So it's very interesting. And then, so what it says I'm just, like, going to gloss over some of it. So it says, as expected, Sound Exchange's gross distributions in the U.S. fell more than 225 million, or 26.2%, to 652 million from last year's total of 884 million, due to Pandora switching from a compulsory license to direct deal with labels.
Wow.
So in that switch, Pandora began paying its label partners directly while still paying artist royalties to Sound Exchange to make distributions to them. And it says, in this announcement, the agency noted that over 50 major and independent labels choose Sound Exchange to administer the artist royalties.
Interesting.
So it's interesting that since it's now direct deal with labels, that you can see the difference with how it's being paid to the artists. Because before this, artists were getting paid more than they're getting paid now.
Right.
Of this change. If you guys want to check this out, it's on Billboard.com. It's under the business section. It's in beta, so it might be slow loading up. But the name of the article is Sound Exchange saw dip in royalty distributions in 2017, citing Pandora label deals. So that's another thing. And speaking of some indie labels, it's a thing about Spotify. It's again one of these things where people are not getting paid. So it's called the name of the article is Indie Labels Repeat Calls for Fair Share of Spotify Equity Payout. So again, people are still mad because they're not getting their money. So it goes on to say, less than a week after Spotify officially filed for a public offering, indie body Worldwide Independent Network has reiterated its call for a fair share of revenues from any future equity sale. And it says all three majors have committed to sharing Spotify stock proceeds with their artists, as has independent organization Maryland, but WIN, which is the acronym for the network that I just talked about. Additionally, wants Universal, Warner, and Sony Music to compensate indie labels distributed by them their corresponding share of any payout received. The independent artist community has expressed growing concern about their share of these revenues following the forthcoming Spotify listing. In response, the umbrella organization said it was reaffirming the commitments it made as part of the Fair Digital Deals Declaration, a voluntary initiative promoting fair and transparent accounting to artists and music companies. So that's been like a recent law that just recently came out in Congress. Are you part of Grammy U?
Yeah.
So that's one of those laws that have recently been passed.
Interesting.
Over the things. So we still see that it's like a growing...
Yeah,
like
slowly but surely.
There's a lot of growing pains with a lot of this stuff. And people
and some of this stuff is so new that people don't know how to handle it yet.
Yeah. Especially the amount of even like major artists transitioning from major to indie. Like you have Frank Ocean who decided that I'm not going to be on the label no more. Right. And the whole thing with Blonde and how he got sued for he was going to get sued for like billions of dollars for him giving away Endless was pretty much a visual album, but it was just exclusive. So unless you were if you weren't like an iTunes or Apple person, you really couldn't check it out. Yeah. So they felt slighted by that. But then when Blonde came out, it was still an exclusive, but it was around every.
Yeah. What do you think of that album?
When it comes, I like the album. It took me a while though, because I came into Frank Ocean late because I'm one of those people I don't like a whole bunch of hype.
Yeah.
So I like to listen. I like to wait for it to die down first, and then go in. Like sometimes I get into an artist automatically.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to slowly get into it.
Yeah.
Like, so my first introduction to him was Novocaine.
Yep.
So I heard Novocaine and I was like, okay, he's cool. But when Channel Orange first came out, it was on my radar. I was still in like my zone. So I came into it a little bit late, probably like a year or two, like after he won the Grammy for it, I started listening to him. So Channel Orange, I feel like it was very married to like his mixtapes. So like it gave me a lot of vibes from his mixtapes. So I started with the mixtapes first. And then I transitioned to Channel Orange.
Right.
I like to see if people have mixtapes first to see what the transition is between when they come from being independent to a major artist, to see how different the label does, just to get a feel for the artist truly in their true aspect. So when it comes to Blonde, since it is the independent album, I feel like it's returning to some of because in my opinion, he uses a lot of metaphors with his stuff, which I really appreciate, because I think it's not used enough. So some of it took a while for me to get to, but the song with Beyonce, there's like Pink and Sky. Some of the tracks are escaping me, but some of the tracks got me all the way, and then some of them haven't. But then, like, the recent single, like Chanel, was a good song as well. And then he did another song that really got me as well. Yeah. So it's still like a transitionary period for him getting used to being independent, I'm sure. And then for people that were used to Channel Orange, it might have been like a complete different change for musically. But to me, it sounds like more of his mixtape stuff. Yeah. So, what was your opinion about it?
I actually listened to Blonde before I listened to Chanel Orange, and it's definitely a different take from what you would do, I guess, because you went to the mixtapes and did all that. And so, I really enjoyed the first half of the album, and then the second half got too out there for me. It was super experimental, which I appreciated, and it was really cool. But it's not something I would just throw on, just walk into class or something. I really, if I'm driving, I have a long drive, I think it's cool to listen to all the way through and sort of appreciate it as one piece than it is just some individual songs. But I enjoyed it. I still listen to, I think there's a song called Solo. I really like. Solo is one of my favorites on that CD. But it was cool. It was a good album.
So, speaking as you went backward, you went backwards. So, the transition from Blonde to Channel Orange, what was the...
I honestly forget Channel Orange. I listened to it probably right after Blonde came out. And so I don't really remember enough to talk about it. I know Thinking About You is on it, and it's an amazing song. But I don't really remember much else. Yeah.
And you weren't familiar with the mixtapes?
No, definitely not.
So I feel like I would suggest that you go like Dat Piff still, I think, still has a lot of his earlier stuff.
Probably has tons of plays.
Yeah. So, and then there's some other websites that most likely have it.
I'm sure I'll be able to find it.
I'm trying to think of the exact one that you would really get into. It used to be on my phone, but I took it off for some reason. I think it was like the one right before Channel Orange came out. I forget what it is. But just check it out. I feel like the whole with Blonde and how it sounds, I feel like it's a better marriage than Channel Orange is with it. So I think if you listen to that, it will make more sense.
Okay.
Listen to it. Because sometimes albums just you have to wait on them for sometimes. So that's always interesting. So another question before we go to break. Let's get into. So you were talking about you recently had a live performance for RMG that I was at, and I had to mix. So so I was busy working, trying to listen to everybody as well. So how did you feel that went?
I loved it. I tried out a new song that I just wrote a couple weeks ago, and people came up to me afterwards and they said that was one of their favorites. So I'm excited about that because if people didn't, then I might need to reevaluate things. But no, it was a lot of fun. I had my piano there, my acoustic there, and a crowd full of engaging people, which is nice. You know, it's always good to have people singing stuff back when you're performing to them. Especially acoustic, you know, you try to keep their attention. I found with acoustic shows, the dynamics are the most important. Because if you just play acoustic guitar 5 songs through at the same dynamic, it can get pretty boring no matter who you are. So I think that is something that I figured out. But no, I really loved it. I loved the venue. It was in an art gallery. It was fun.
Yeah. I felt like the sound, speaking on the sound aspect since I was mixing it, I feel like the fact that it was in such an enclosed space and then like all the walls, like the reflections off the walls, like really made it a great experience as well. Yeah. So it made you could hear a lot of the stuff a lot better.
It was nice. Yeah. It wasn't too much of anything.
It wasn't a lot. Like it was just because just the artwork and just the PA pretty much. And, just us mixing in the background, trying to make sure everything sounds right, and be like, oh, we should add reverb here, right? Should we add delay here? Making sure the levels are right here, and since you transitioned from playing the keyboard and the acoustic guitar, it was interesting to see how we would have to mix it. So that was interesting as well. What's the name of the new song that you performed? Because I like that song as well.
That one I haven't really named. Right now it's in my phone, it's I love you, ... I think. So that's sort of the name at the moment, but it's subject to change for sure.
As always.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to take a break, and then I'm going to ask him a few more questions. We'll get into more like hot topics in this industry and stuff like that. But let's take a break, and I'll be right back in a few minutes, guys. Bye. All right. Hey, guys, we're back. Going off of that whole thing where you were talking about the song and how you still have a name for it.
Yeah.
Being a songwriter, I know is interesting because I write songs as well. So they become, after a while, especially if you take so much time doing it, they become pretty much like your children after a while. Yeah. So you don't know how to give it away to the audience, and then if people don't appreciate your work, it's kind of hard to take in. Like Erykah Badu said, I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about my shit. Yeah. So, and it's really true, especially if you write it yourself. For sure. And put a whole bunch of time and work into it. So what particularly is your process? I know people have different processes for it. For me, I haven't done it as well. I've been having some writer's block. And it's been hard for me to actually get some of the inspiration I would usually get, and maybe it's because of stress, because I'm doing the podcast, then I'm doing YouTube as well, and then the rest of the school stuff, and then trying to find internships and stuff like that. So it's probably because of that. But there's a song right there. Yeah, we can figure out a song like that. Yeah. So what would your process be?
So my process is different for a lot of songs. Let me see. So that song that we were just talking about, since that's the newest one, I went down to Virginia during spring break and I wrote a couple of songs, and that was one of them. That one in particular started a year ago, and I was just in my car and the melody came to me, and I have a long commute from here to school, or from my house to school, and it's about 45-50 minutes, so I like to write in between that time. And so a lot of them just start with voice memos, whether it's me beatboxing really terribly into my phone and with a melody or some lyrics. Other times, another one that we wrote in Virginia, I was with my bassist that plays with me, and he started playing something on guitar. I'm like, just keep playing that, and then I hopped on drums and started playing, and it just develops like that, or there's a sound on, like some synth sound that just triggers it. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that will start it, and then the process typically is me locking myself away in my basement and just creating a demo. I'll do multiple different versions of a song. One song started out as a rock thing, ended up as a pop thing, and so this last year I put out a record in 2016, December of 2016, and since then I've just been sort of refining my sound and going more towards what we were talking about earlier with the acoustic and synth instruments, and I really like that sound. So I've just been honing that, and then this summer I'll be putting out probably 3 songs right now with that theme. And but my songwriting process really is just so different all the time. It's really just sort of catching it when it hits. You know, I'm sure you understand that.
When the inspiration hits, just
whether there's a piano there, a guitar there, or just your phone. Just sort of capturing that and developing it. It's so fun. I was telling someone, I was talking about them about songs, and it's like when you start a song, it's almost like the song is already finished. It's just you haven't found it yet. You know, it's hard to describe. I guess it kind of sounds funny, but it's sort of like opening a 500-piece puzzle with the image there. You just have to sort of piece it together in the right areas, and that's what's exciting, though. You know, and it's sort of a piece of you and your identity, and what you're going through is sort of a snapshot of how you feel at that time. And I don't know, I love that. And the aspect of music sort of supporting the message is awesome. So, yeah, I sort of had a bunch of things there, but,
Speaking, and then can you explain, well, I know, but people listening, what a demo actually is?
Yeah, so a demo is a rough version of a song. So it could have a guitar that you really hate the tone of, but it's there to keep a placeholder for when you actually sit down to really record it, and that'll be the part that you listen back for. And so a demo is a lot of, you can actually look up on YouTube some people's demos of their songs. Popular people, the demo of Beyonce's Halo is up on YouTube, and you could sort of hear the transformation from the demo version to the final version. So that's really what a demo is, if nobody knew that.
Then going on to this, speaking of demos, so do you produce your own music, or do you have somebody that you work with to help produce? Yeah,
so I do. My first CD, I produced it and played everything and wrote it and recorded it and mixed it. I didn't master it, though.
How did you get to master it?
What did you say?
Did you send it to
I sent it to a guy in New York who has done so many great people's stuff that I was a fan of. And I just think somebody should have a second opinion, and it's not just me listening to the song for 1,000 hours and then like, this is what I think it should be. It's nice to have that professional, this guy does it for a living, he's going to make it sound good, things that I missed. So I think in any aspect of the project, whether you're writing it or you're mixing it, you should have someone do something else so you can have a second opinion. And I definitely send it to my brother who manages me, and I send it to my friends, other musicians, play it with my band, and then between all of those opinions, I'll come out with the final song. And so it's not all me, but actually with this next CD, I plan on having a live band record it in the studio. So it'll be a lot of collaboration, which I'm excited for. But I just never had enough time to sort of get that together in high school and college. I was just so busy, and I'm a perfectionist, so I just like, all right, I have 2 hours, let me go down and just focus, and then let me go do my thing. So I'm really excited for that.
So you just spoke on how your brother's your manager. So how did that come along?
Yeah, so he was into music. I mean, he's always been into music. That's actually how I got started, but we might get into that later. But he did music about 10 years ago and really pursued it. And he got really close, almost signed with a major deal. And then it fell through because, you know, music industry is really close-knit and things happen.
Yes, it is. Well, it's more about who you know.
Yeah. And he knew some good people, but there was a falling out. And then he's like, I need to make money. You know, so he got a job and but he's always loved music. So when I started growing up and he saw my interest and passion for music, he sort of took me under his wing, gave me a lot of great advice to help jumpstart me in the right direction. And when I got old enough and he saw that I was passionate enough about it, he's like, okay, maybe we can do something here and we can work together. And he constantly pushes me. He gives me the brutally honest opinion and truth that nobody else will give.
Nobody does it to you like your family does.
Exactly. Not even me. You know, there's things that I miss. And so he's just a really great team member to have because I'm very much the music end and not so much the business end, and his job is a businessman and a salesman. And so to have the previous music industry experience with the skill set that he has, it's just a good team. And especially it's important to trust, you know, your manager. And a lot of people, a lot of great people in the industry started out with their managers being their own family members. You know, you look at the Jackson 5, you know, and so I think it's nice to do it with him. It's a good bonding experience, and we definitely have our rough patches here and there, but disagreements, we bump heads sometimes. But you know, at the end of the day, we're family, and we both want the best for each other, and so our decisions sort of stem from that right there.
So I'm trying to figure out this question. So, when it comes to branding and giving your public image out, has your brother helped you in certain ways with doing that? Like certain ways that would fit your aesthetic, but where it's more authentic?
100%. So, I had this Ned's declassified coconut head haircut, and it was terrible. And I look back at pictures, I'm like, why did people let me do that for so long? Like, why didn't somebody tell me? And so he was like, all right, you need a haircut, right now. So I went and I got a haircut, and then I got another haircut and switched it up. I'm so happy for that, but I knew nothing about fashion or style or taste, nothing. And I'm still working on it, but I've definitely come a very, very long way thanks to his help. You know, he would sit in the mirror and practice smiling, you know, he's very much focused in whatever he tries to do and tries to be perfectionist at, even more so than me. So it's nice that he's done all the work and can sort of mentor me in that area. Especially, you know, as an artist, it's important to have an image, and the moment you walk out the door, your brand is being looked at and scrutinized. And so, he's helped me immensely with that, with even video angles, you know, and YouTube covers that I do. He's like, fix your hair first of all, and also bring the camera up because it makes you look, you know, so just different things like that. He's constantly aware and analyzing.
I know you talked about doing covers on YouTube. So what made you begin YouTube? Was it more about gaining an audience, starting a brand off, or stuff like that? Or?
It was a number of things. First of all, it was to put out content, because from the album cycles, it could be a year to 2 years between new original music sometimes. And so that whole spot in between, if you're not playing live shows, is hard to keep music out. So I was like, what better way than YouTube? And so he pushed me on that. And so I started doing some YouTube covers, and eventually they started becoming more elaborate, and I started moving to vlogs and behind the scenes stuff. So that was one aspect. Another reason why I started it is because just musically covering a bunch of different people's songs helps you so much. When I first started the covers about a year ago, I was stuck in this one style of singing, and I was in a box. And then after covering just the two of us, and like some Shawn Mendes songs, and going from all those different things, a Sam Cooke song, and just studying those songs and the musical part. I usually play an instrument or I'll loop things. Just studying that has made me immensely better musician and singer, and even production. It's just made me quicker. And also, I think in this day and age, to be on the web is so important.
Yes.
And what better way than the biggest search engine, YouTube. So that, and just it's great to, even practically, if someone's like, send me a video of you, I'm like, all right, here's a YouTube cover. Just things like that. So there's endless reasons.
Another thing, so speaking of videos, so since we both do videos, it's always about the angles, it's always about the lighting, it's always about the environment around you as well, because that helps with people being interested in it.
Yeah.
So how... And you said your brother helps you with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys try to frame when you're making these cover videos?
Yeah, so I had a big problem with that when I first started out. I didn't even think about framing at all, or color combinations with clothes or lighting. I didn't think about any of that. I just thought, all right, I'm going to sing the song, put a camera up. And as I started growing and studying, I realized just what you were saying. There's so much that goes into it that I didn't even think about artistically, whether it's the blur in the background or how it's focused on you. It's nuts. So as I started growing with that, wait, were you asking? You were asking. What was the question?
It was about the just a framing about the covers, or
right?
Videos, just videos. Period.
So we did, when I started learning more about that, I ended up, with instruments it's hard because there's instruments, it's not as easy as if you were just sitting down. So there's movement and things, trying to capture all that energy, but at the same time have a pleasing frame. So usually what I do is I stand in front of a wood background, and it's not too plain where it's boring, but I try to go out on location whenever I can to just cool spots. So there's a there's like a shopping center by my house that has a really cool lounge area almost. So we set up there one night and just brought the lights, and it turned out to be one of my favorite locations. Just sort of switching it up, and there's like two lights, so I try to stand right in the middle, just try to make it the most symmetrical as you can. And the colors, there was brick, so I'm like, all right, let me wear a complementary color to that. Or whoever I'm doing the video with, if I'm collabing with someone, make sure we talk about that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know, just watching other people do it better than me and just studying. That's the name of the game.
So we talked about some of your influences, and we talked about how your brother was inspired you to get into music, but what made you want to become a singer-songwriter?
So my dad and both my brothers played guitar and wrote songs, and I was like, I don't want to play guitar or write songs. I want to play drums because I want to be different. So I started with drums and xylophone together, and
I remember playing xylophone as a kid.
Yeah, so I started with that, and then I started writing songs just naturally, I guess because I've always sort of had it in me. I've always been sensitive, and so
most artists are.
Yeah, just super in touch with that, So I started writing songs and singing melodies to my drum beats, but it wasn't working out, So I was like, okay, maybe I should figure out an instrument where I can write chords and arrange music. So I took on piano. I figured it'd be a smooth transition from xylophone to piano. So I started fiddling around with that, and I got this really old Mac dinosaur, like Macintosh computer. It's probably, you could find one for like $50 on eBay. And just started writing with the old school program. And then when I started recording in there, I realized I couldn't play guitar when I wanted electric guitar in there. So I picked up guitar, and then it was just sort of a natural progression to now, where I just tried honing my skills in every area so I would be able to be doing these things on YouTube, recording and playing instruments and writing original music. But I think I was just surrounded by my brother doing it when I was younger, that I wanted to do it myself. And ever since, I haven't stopped. So, yeah.
So, another question for you. So you say you were influenced by Prince and the R&B aspect of stuff, the acoustic aspect, and just bring the technology and the acoustic aspect to your music. That's inspiring for you. So how has that over the years changed in your music?
Yeah. So when I first started, my big thing was piano. I loved piano in more rock songs with electric guitars and piano. That was my favorite music. So things like The Fray or Gavin DeGraw. And I loved that combination. And as I started getting older and music started to change out of that genre, I noticed just how much synths could be used in a creative way and just sort of create a texture rather than, a synth is in the song, it's EDM, it's not that, it's just another tool. So recently, since I've been getting more into production with the covers and expanding my musical tastes, I've just sort of naturally progressed into experimenting with those in my own music. And it's worked out really well. That's why the new songs, I think, feel better. In my opinion, even though no one has heard them with the actual synths. But, I don't know. As far as Prince goes, Prince is just so funky sometimes. And his grooves, one of my favorite songs by him is A Kiss.
That's a good song. And
it's just so tight. And his vocals are just in that falsetto. I love falsetto. And so him, I really take that aspect. I don't even listen to him all the time, but there's just certain artists that have their own flavor and special quality about them that you can't not appreciate and try to take from and learn from. And he's one of those artists for sure. There's so many people like him. Classics. But Prince is definitely one of my favorites with the chorus electric guitars and just the drums and the bass, how they're just mixed together. I don't know. That's sort of how it developed.
Interesting. So speaking on the transition, and now we're into album making now. So what is your main goal for this album?
My main goal...
If it's clear at this moment.
It is.
I know it can change during the process.
So I have the style in mind. I have what I want it to feel like. 3 cohesive songs is my goal that have the same theme and sort of same groove-esque. And so my goal with this album is to sort of redefine my identity in music. So that sounds very existential, but it's really not. It's just sort of switching my genre, crossing over to a different sound and opening for people that have that sound, or some of my favorite bands that are touring the area. I try to open for them, and my music just isn't current enough. We tried opening for Alex Iono. Are you familiar with him? He's a YouTube cover guy. But it wasn't. He was more like R&B, hip hop, which is what I love.
Okay.
And my older music is more rock and pop ish. So they just didn't mix as well.
Yeah.
But then another guy, we opened for a band called River Oaks at the Fillmore, or the Foundry at the Fillmore, and our music fit well with him. But his was more not the style I really want to open for. You know, I want, as we were talking about our demographic, I want to switch the demographics. I want to switch the style. I'm more of a soulful, kind of feel good artist like that. So I want my music to reflect that. And my old one, I feel, doesn't. So with this new stuff, I'm really excited to have a real band to sort of capture that energy and just show everyone where I'm at now lyrically as I've matured, and musically where I've also matured.
So it's pretty much like, in a sense, rebranding everything that was recently released.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much what it is. So how long is this album going to be?
I think it's only going to be, we're shooting for 3 or 4 songs.
3 or 4 songs, so it's more going to be like an EP. EP.
Yep.
An album. So after this, do you have any plans to create an album after doing this EP, or are you thinking, oh, let me just get this EP done, figure out how this how successful it is, and then figure out how you want to balance out an album?
Yeah, so I thought about maybe even releasing these as 3 separate singles throughout the year so I could be releasing music consistently. I thought about releasing these as a package and then doing a Christmas holiday type thing. Something unique and special for the people that have sort of caught on over the summer with those new songs. So we're shooting for a summer release. And I don't know, it's sort of all being worked out at the moment.
Okay. So, speaking on that, is there any singles that people can listen to at the moment that you want them to listen to?
There's some people's favorites. Actually, there's a lot, so I guess I shouldn't say that. People seem to really like Settle. That's a new one. That's the first song I ever put out. Put that out in 2014. Settle, Alive, people like a lot. Those are my 2 highest ones on Apple Music and Spotify. But my personal favorites aren't either of the 2.
It usually happens like that.
Yeah, it is funny. I like some of the later songs in the album. It took me about 2 years to put it together. So my music taste and lyrics and arranging has sort of changed throughout that, even just the last album. So it was interesting as you could sort of hear the development. It's pretty much in chronological order throughout the album. And the album's called Transitions, which is fitting. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And it actually adds a cool aspect of the album.
Exactly.
You can tell the transition in production quality, the production and lyrical content.
Right.
Probably production, vocal production as well.
Yeah, if you listen to Settle, I sound a lot younger than I do, by the end of the album. So it's very interesting if you listen. And what it is also a progression in a relationship. I think 4 of the 8 songs are about one person, all in different times, all in chronological order. So it's pretty interesting with that too. So transitions all around, that album really is. And I really like it for what it is, and I really like the songs. But I'm also excited, just as any artist is, putting out new stuff, that they feel like this is the best, this is the best song. And I think you have to have that feeling, you need to. Otherwise you won't be strong to support it and play it live and be confident. So, so those are some songs off that album. Definitely check it out. Check out the whole thing as a body of work. It's pretty interesting.
Then how we were talking about how it's an album and how you can the name of the album fits the album all the way. Speaking as we're in a more singles-based age of music, how do you feel about albums? Like, do you think that albums should be always consumed as a complete work? Like, because if somebody was listening to music, they only picked out Settle, or they picked out stuff like that, or like they listened to a song and just got into it, but they're like, I was waiting for something with bigger vocal production and bigger stuff like that. They lose an aspect of their creativity by just looking directly for a single, but going over the transition of the album, which is called transitions, you see a transition in quality, you see a transition of vocal production, you see a transition in arrangement and all stuff like that. So they're missing out on stuff. So I always say that people are losing some of the creative aspect of what an album is supposed to be, because we're so single age now, especially with iTunes. When it first came out, it was about, you can go into an album and buy just the singles that you like, but the album's just on there with you only having 3 songs, so you lose the whole creative message.
I would say that, for example, a great example is The Life of Pablo, Kanye West album. I think is a masterpiece. I really do. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, from top to bottom. But if you pick out individual songs off the album, it wouldn't impress me as much. And so I think there are certain albums that you need to listen to from start to finish to really appreciate and be impacted like the artist intended. But I think there are also songs where, for example, The Weeknd's album, I think those songs could have been in any order, and I still would understand. And they all sort of have the same vibe and message, the most recent one. And so, I don't know. I think it's sort of hit or miss, and if he was here, maybe he would be mad at that comment. But as an example, that is what I would give. As far as singles go, I love singles. I love that people are staying fresh, staying new. Sabrina Claudio and Khalid, for example. Khalid is putting out a bunch of singles. But I think as an identity and a representation of who you are, an album really solidifies that. And that's what I was sort of alluding to with my own stuff. It's like, that's who I am right now. I need another body of work to establish who I am now. So that's how I feel about the albums and singles debate.
And then getting on to you talking about you're in his point at this moment. Life is all about evolution as well. The podcast that I was talking about when we were talking about you wanting to start a podcast and what you were going to do is the Friend Zone. So they recently had songwriters on there that worked with like Neo, and like she grew up with them and she was a singer. One of the people, her name is Francesca. She's a YouTube star as well. Her name is Hey Fran Hey. So if you want to check her out on YouTube, she was a singer before, but now she's like a health and wellness person guru because she went through personally traumatic stuff with her body, so that started her on this path. But they were talking about gaining in the career and like you realizing your dream and what's going to happen to you when your dream comes, and like how they were going through like depression and feeling like they had like false identity because they felt like they didn't deserve it. So I thought that was an interesting thing to hear, especially for people that are independent artists, or just artists trying to get a major deal. How even when you get your dream, sometimes that's like, I'm at my dream, I made it, but where do I go next? So it's like, what are your once you get to the point where you want to get to, what is your goals after that? Have you thought that far? Because it can when you're thinking of it as a music thing and you're trying to just get all your stuff out, it's hard to be like, when I get to my dream, I had to make sure I have stuff to keep my interest, to make sure I'm not feeling confined to just one.
So what I would say with that is, I was listening to an interview with Shawn Mendes because he put out new songs. and I wanted to hear his new sound. And someone asked him that same question pretty much. Like, you've reached your dreams, like you're selling out stadiums all over the world. Where do you go from here? And he's like, well, I feel like you never fully reach where you want to go because your dream is always growing with you. And I sort of understand that. But at the same time, everyone has personal goals. So I would say for me, when I sort of reach that point, whatever point that is, and I feel like very comfortable with where I'm at, even now, I would like to go back and help people, the younger artists that are starting out. And that's sort of what we were talking about off the air, and how I want to help younger musicians that are just starting, doing it themselves, get to the point that I got to with all the experience that I would have had once I make it there. So that's what I would love to do. But as far as me personally with my own music, I don't even know. I guess just ride it out until people don't want to listen anymore,
I mean, that kind of goes into what I've recently been speaking about with who I am in the last interview that we had about it being a collective of artists, and it not just being about one artist, and it being about we're all trying to band together to make it a cohesive, and we don't have to necessarily be the same genre, but we have the same mindset about helping each other.
Right.
So that's one of the big things about him with his collective called The Code.
Okay.
It's on Instagram. It's called Keep the Code. That's the Instagram, if I remember correctly. Hopefully I got that right. And then that's what I want to do as well with this. And then it's kind of hard because I get in my head sometimes, especially starting this podcast and starting YouTube. It's like, and then I also want to be an artist as well, but I always get in my head as well. Being a performer is kind of hard because it's like you're putting your heart and soul in something, and then you have to give it off to the masses, and you don't know how exactly they're going to be affected by it. Some people will like it, and some people don't. And then, especially with YouTube comments, and then like, you get used to that. So I'm getting used to YouTube comments and stuff like that. It's not like a whole bunch of comments because I'm still new to it.
Right.
Or just trying to always say artists are looking for validation, but they're really looking for validation from themselves. So it's like a interesting mix because we're our own worst critics in the first place, but then we give it to other people to critique it. So if they critique it and they like it, then in essence we like it because they critiqued it. So it's like that interesting dichotomy of you trying to be all the way yourself, but keeping some of it for yourself at the same time. But then trying to have enough inner love for yourself and for what you created. That no matter what anybody says, you know that you worked your hardest at it and you put all this effort. So to you, it's the best thing you've ever done. So it's always interesting to go into that. Yeah,
that is interesting. I found that Facebook was always the worst comments. Like, I'll get most from Facebook, maybe because I got more views. But you're right. It's very interesting. I haven't even thought about that. How we sort of seek validation at the same time, even if we get insulted by something that isn't true. It's sort of like an insecurity in our own selves. And I think sort of battling that and defeating that all comes with it, and you grow. I definitely grew a lot thicker skin from working with my brother, because someone that you respect so much and care about is, criticizing a work that is a part of you. It's hard sometimes. It's not easy, but it definitely is a growing aspect, and it helps you everywhere in life. If you're at a job or just sort of not an apathy, but just a confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
And then going off the whole podcast, and you were talking about what you said to me off the air was you want to do like a DIY thing for like do-it-yourself artists that are starting off. What? And then this goes into a question I have. What do you hope to change in the industry by doing not just necessarily the podcast that you want to try and do, but just your music overall?
I would like to, well, as far as the podcast goes, I want to change just how hard it is to cut through everything and just how hard it is to figure everything out. Mm-hmm. There's so many bands that are doing it themselves that if they just talk to each other, they would learn so much faster. And so I just hope to be a resource for those people who are searching, that they find me and my experiences and can learn from them. As far as my music goes, a big thing for me that I have a connection to personally is mental health in music and like depression and all of that. Just so many people.
We talked about in that. We have an interview with somebody on my YouTube as well, but we have a podcast as well where we talked about that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. It's very big, especially with people that are creative. So it's very huge.
So I try to be as honest as I can in that and where I'm at mentally, where I'm at emotionally, spiritually, all of those things, so they can find some sort of escape and some sort of release and some sort of connection. So they realize that they're not alone in feeling this way, you know. And a lot of my first album, like Alive, I think that's why people connect with, is because it's very honest and it's not about necessarily a relationship I had, romantic relationship. It's just about my perspective on life. Like, we're struggling to stay alive, and it's cool because the music is happy, but the lyrics are sort of, you know, serious. And I think it's really important. Sometimes I get messages from people that are like, "Hey, your songs really helped me through this time," and that's what it's about. And I really hope to, even if it's just a few people, you know, even if I don't get any larger where I am now, I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that, you know, there were some people impacted from the hard work of releasing that honesty and that music in that way. So I hope to just sort of make a bigger impact and impacting more people in that way.
Okay. Last question before we take another break. So, I know it's probably going to be a hard question for you, but I'm going to ask it. So, who would be your dream collaborations?
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I would give two people. One person most people probably haven't heard of. It's a guy named Bryce Avery. He's from a band called The Rocket Summer. And yeah, growing up, I really idolized, I still do, I really idolized his music and who he is as a person. He plays all the instruments and he records his stuff and tours, and it's everything that I want to do and I strive to be. So I would love, I posted something on my Facebook the other day. It was 4 years ago. It was 6 or 4 years ago, I forget. And it was literally just a screenshot of his records, and each song had 1,000 plays, like over 1,000 plays. And so I've been really impacted by him a lot. And so either him or Ryan Tedder from One Republic. He's just an amazing vocalist, amazing songwriter. That demo of Halo is him singing because he wrote that song. And so I would love to work with him. I just think he's an amazing talent. And so those would be my two options, my two choices.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back with Tyler. I'm just going to get into some news stuff and some new stuff that's going on in the industry. Talk about some new singles that have recently been out. So you heard us talk about the new song with Sabrina and Khalid. It's a duet. It's pretty much an R&B song, but we never told you what that song name is.
Yeah.
So the name of the song is "Don't Let Me Down," and I'm on Rolling Stone. So this is from the 50 Shades Freed soundtrack, the 50 Shades of Grey series. So it's off of that soundtrack. And what it says under this, like the subtitle, it says a synth-laden track follows Claudio's "Cross Your Mind" from 50 Shades Freed soundtrack. So let me see what it says. So giving you some insight into what it's about. The song focuses on two lovers laying out their desires and reservations, yearning for the other to invest in a relationship. Claudio begins with a vulnerable opener. Do you feel me? Here, give you love. Do you see me? Here, opening up. She sings over a better sense. The track builds towards the chorus with light dance hall inspired percussion. So that's like some of the aspects of what this song is. Then it talks about Khalid and some of the stuff we recently talked about. His collaboration with Normani from Fifth Harmony with the Love Lies thing. So we're talking about how that aspect and sound from this single transitioned to this single with Claudio. So if you guys get a chance, make sure you guys check this track out. I'm definitely going to check it out after I'm done with this interview because I really wanted to hear it. And Tyler said it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And we seem, knowing that we now have a similar interest in R&B, I think that I'm going to like it off of that basis. Then we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I just want to go into a little bit more of the aspect. If my computer will work. So it's The Weeknd's EP album.
Yeah.
EP. So that kind of gets technical wherever you go.
Yeah, for real.
So there's an article in Rolling Stone if we'll hurry up and pull up. But so let me see. So when it comes to, like we said before, it sounds more like his older stuff than his newer stuff. Do you have like a specific because certain song like Chris Brown's recent album with like the 45 songs, people like me, in my opinion, it showed all of the different eras of his career throughout, and that's why I really loved the album.
Yeah.
Some people didn't understand the album. And some songs, I have to admit, were not my particular favorites, but I understood because even though Chris Brown's one of my favorite artists ever, some albums didn't hit me in certain ways that certain albums did. Like his first album, completely got me. Then after the whole situation with Rihanna, he released Graffiti, and I really felt like that was a great album as well. But since all that stuff with him and Rihanna, people didn't give it attention and stuff like that until he came out with Fame. And that was a whole different version of him because now he was rapping more. Now he was singing and rapping at the same time. Mm-hmm. Instead of when he first came out, it was pretty much just him singing. It's more R&B based, and now he's started transitioning more into pop. He started doing that with Forever, that album. But Fame was a lot of pop influence. It was a lot of hip hop, R&B, and pop influence throughout that whole album instead of just being more R&B based. Then you go into some of the collaborations with him and Tyga. That's more rap and hip hop influence, and his more recent albums are rap influence as well. But I felt like this recent album of his really, like I said before, dedicated different eras of his career. Certain songs were more early Chris Brown. Some songs were more later Chris Brown and his later stuff. More then since he has a daughter with royalty, there's a lot of stuff that's a little bit different for what he would phrase. Certain things are a lot different than he would do when he was before he had a daughter. So it's interesting to see the transition of that. My reason for stating this is So what album do you think really directly relates to My Dear Melancholy?
I think it would be his album before Starboy. I forget which one that is.
It's the one with I Can't Feel My Face on it, right? Is it that album?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking it up right now. But the one with the hills on it, you know the one? Like, those are just... Even I Can't Feel My Face, it sort of has a dark undertone.
Mm-hmm.
And that even the hills has a dark undertone. I think there's not much on Starboy that I could really compare it to as much as I would it was called Trilogy.
Yeah, and that was the combination of 3 of his earlier works.
Yeah.
They released. They were pretty much mixtapes, I believe. I think there were 3 mixtapes that he just put all into an album. And that's one of my favorite because he had Dirty Diana on there. Then Thursday, which was one of my favorite songs off of that as well.
Yeah. So that and his singles that he put out after that, like I would say, it's just different. It's back to that old feel. Mm-hmm. I haven't listened to a ton of him, but I've listened to enough of him to know that.
Exactly. Let me see what this article. Since my computer is finally working, guys, I can get into what this article was talking about. So this says like an update. The Weeknd has unveiled his new 6-song EP. They say EP on this. My Dear Melancholy, which features Jeff Soffelstein on 2 tracks. I'm not sure who that is. It was executive produced by The Weeknd and Frank Dukes, with additional production by Daft Punk's Guy Manuel, De Hume Cristo, Skrillex, and Mike Will Made It, among others. And it's like streaming down below. And then it talks about some of the promotion for this album. And it was like, The Weeknd began teasing the record on Instagram Wednesday, posting a screenshot of a text conversation with message, should we drop Friday? I'm indifferent, to be honest. On Thursday, the R&B star shared the Austin... Wait, how do you say that? You can't read. You forget words. Austin Sewell album artwork for My Dear Melancholy with the caption Tonight. And then we were talking about like the dark undertones of like the hills and like certain things of that. You can definitely tell by the album artwork.
Oh yeah.
That it fits the album all the way.
100%.
It's pretty much for the album artwork. If you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty much him just looking straight into the camera, but all around him you can hardly see his face, but you see one of his eyes, and it looks like his eyes like dark, like he has like a lot of dark circles on his eyes with the editing that the photographer did for this artwork. So it reflects what the EP is about.
Yeah.
So again, like I was talking about before with Tyler, how certain people in the music industry don't get enough credit. When you speak about what I was just talking about with the art direction for the album cover, it helps reflect what the album's going to be about.
Yeah.
So without the photographer or the artist that helped create this, you wouldn't have an idea of what the album might be. So it's also interesting to see all the creative people that come together to create the brand, the image, and stuff like that, like Tyler was talking about. So we need to give people credit for what they do as well.
Yeah, I love seeing the promo before new albums dropping, seeing everything switch. Even Justin Timberlake, before he dropped his album, or maybe it was after, but the Super Bowl performance, people are like, why is he dressed like that? It's because his album is called Man of the Woods, so he was dressed sort of like
How
that.
did you feel about that? That performance for Super Bowl,
okay,
and then his album.
I like the performance. His band is killing. His band is so good. He's a great vocalist. People were sort of mad about the Prince thing because of everything that Prince has said, which I understand. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think there's been better ones, but he played his hits and he played some of the new songs, and there was that meme that came out of it with the selfie kid. So I mean, if there's anything that good that came out of it, it's the selfie kid. But no, I thought it was solid. I'm a fan of Justin Timberlake. So his album was cool. I don't think any album is going to beat the 2020 Experience. I don't know if you gave that listen through, but
I do like that album.
The 2020 Experience is...
I think the first half of that was my favorite.
Yeah.
The second half kind of took me off of it a little bit.
There's a part one and a part two.
Yeah, I think the first part was better for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Part. It's more your vibe, I would think. Me too. Part 1, 2020 Experience, is an amazing album. But his new one, Man of the Woods, I liked what he did. I liked... There's the thing about Justin Timberlake is he's not afraid to try new things and be creative. And if anything, whether you like the songs or not, that's something you have to respect. And I think artists like him sort of push music in a certain direction and encourage artists to try out different things. So my overall opinion, I liked it. I listen to it sometimes, but I listen to his other stuff even more,
Because there's been a lot of mixed reviews on it.
Yeah.
Because of the transition. Because people have been saying it's like a really, really, really far off choice musically from 2020.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's very interesting.
But it's cool. There's some songs that I still jam. I'll probably jam this summer. Very summer songs. But I'm a fan of Justin Timberlake, so I always like his music he put out.
We have different opinions on Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
I didn't think that he did, because before, Justin Timberlake was one of the people that I thought was like a great live performer, but I felt like he wasn't as engaged, probably, in my opinion.
Engaged,
engaged with just the choreography, just the crowd, just like something about his movements just didn't seem as
very calculated.
It just seemed very calculated, not as authentic as it used to feel.
But I think that has to do with just the environment.
Yeah, and this environment.
If it was on a stage, like I've seen him perform, and it's natural for him. But I think it must be so unique to perform in something like that with cameras, where you have to entertain the audience that are watching, and then also the audience that's there, and that must be tough.
Yeah. And then the whole Prince thing.
Yeah.
You were talking about how Prince doesn't like, since he was religious, he didn't like the visual effects and like the stuff like that. He thought that was like demonic and stuff like that. But another aspect of the thing that I can bring some context into was, the song "I'm Bringing Sexy Back."
Yeah.
That song. So him and Prince had an argument about that whole concept and then Prince was like, "Sexy's always been here," like all this other stuff, and then it was like a feud between them.
Really?
So and then there was like a award show where Prince got an award, and he accepted it for Prince, but before he before he said that he was going to take it away, he lowered the mic. He was pretty much throwing shots at Prince and stuff like that. So it's been like a huge feud from that on. So it was interesting that he, after Prince died, would try to do that. And then after that, he had a concert or something like that for Prince at Paisley Park or something like that. So people have been giving him stuff for that as well. So it's even more stuff than just the religious aspect though. So it goes into like, do you really respect Prince or not? Or are you just saying this stuff just to get publicity? Or
that's interesting.
So that's always an interesting aspect. So I've had me and Justin Timberlake go on and off sometimes, especially then after the whole Janet Jackson situation. People have been over that too.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
This is what happened. Most people forgot about it, but It's when Janet Jackson performed, but she brought out Justin Timberlake. They did the song together. Janet Jackson had an outfit on, but he ripped off one of her things, and it was like covering up her boobs.
Mm-hmm.
Then it ripped off. He ripped it off, but she was blacklisted for it.
Really?
Yeah, and she was never allowed to perform, and that affected her sales
for
her music. So, and he's never publicly apologized or said that it was partially his fault.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like that was the main reason why people were so against him actually being part of the Super Bowl, because of that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, my opinion was Janet Jackson never needed Justin Timberlake for anything, but because he was Janet Jackson. But the fact that still to this day he's never publicly apologized always didn't sit well with me in my personal respect.
Yeah.
Because like she gave you an opportunity to be on the stage in the first place. Like, you weren't one of those people. Like, now you have your own show.
Yeah.
Like, just for you to give her the kind of respect of even asking her probably would have helped people deal with some of the disrespect that they felt from it. So that's always an aspect. And then this whole transition, I want to talk to you about this. This is a topic that even happened with Bruno Mars. The whole part of culture appropriation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Not the term, but
culture appropriation is pretty much where people like say R&B is pretty much like a black genre of music. It started off like that. Jazz started off like that. Rock started off like that as well. Like funk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of those like well-known genres, if they're predominantly created by a certain group of people, but somebody comes in, takes it their own, orders it down, and then becomes successful off of it. So, and then he's not alone in being called for appropriator for that. Like Miley Cyrus, how she was all into like the rap scene, and now she was like, that was like a bad period in my life when I was doing like more urban music. Then you have like Iggy Azalea when she's like Australian, but she's trying to be like an African American woman when she raps and stuff like that. So it goes into people coming in, taking what they want, and then leaving. And then it goes into the history of it, where jazz, we were the creators, people that were making jazz popular. But then you have people come in later, and then the whole history is reshaped, and it's that these people created it when it's the wrong history. So it goes into, it's the long history of the music industry.
Yeah, sure.
The history of this country with racism and stuff like that, and how stuff isn't correctly based in truth.
Yeah.
It's based on assumptions and what people tell people
Of course.
instead of just stuff like that. So, and then how we talked about the definite change in direction with 2020. Yeah, it's 2020 experience. And then what's his new album called?
Man of the Woods.
Man in the Woods. And how it's like, oh, so now he wants to completely isolate himself from the fans he got off by using like Timbaland and using like the urban music, and then like Miley Cyrus, her transitioning and going back to country music, and then saying that it was like a bad period in her life when she was doing that. And then you have artists like Post Malone that said that, oh, hip hop, if you want a story and something that's like wholesome and gives you a message about empowerment and stuff like that, but he's in the same industry profiting off of
hip hop fans
and hip hop fans and the culture. So it goes into that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you that and just talk about that for a second. Do you ever feel, and speaking as you are into R&B and stuff like that, it kind of goes into that aspect of
True.
it as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never really, I wasn't as knowledgeable on that topic, but I think it's definitely a thing that happens, and I think there's a fine line between exploitation and influence, and I think a lot of artists and individuals sort of exploit that culture and that community more than they actually are that. They try to be an image so they can cultivate those fans, like you were saying, without actually them being, that as their identity. For example, if we're talking about Jasmine Sullivan again, like Jasmine Sullivan is Jasmine Sullivan in that community, and she will forever be. And same with Prince, same with, anyone like them. So for me, for example, I'm not on a big stage like them, and I'm able to, sort of to have such big influence. But for me, it's sort of incorporating those styles into my background. So I'm just getting familiar with R&B more and more within the last year and a half. So I love that music so much, and I listen to it, that it just becomes a natural part of the music rather than sort of trying to put on a facade. So I think it is an issue. I haven't even thought of it to be an issue, but that's definitely something to be conscious about and careful, I guess, too, is to not be disrespectful. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of with the backlash to him.
Yeah.
It's been a long road for like the African American community and Justin Timberlake, and then just seeing, and then you can even base it with like people that are popular in R&B. More, it's not our genre. I hate to say that. It comes off as being like insensitive and people can be influenced, but we created it. But we're not. Before in the 90s, it was all us. Like it was the same thing with hip hop and stuff like that. It was all us. Like then, like earlier, you had like Eminem. But even the black community were like, "Oh, Eminem's one of us." Like Eminem, like he's like,
and that's the thing.
He's never like did things to ever make it seem like he's disassociated himself because since he's white, that he's just using this for clout.
It's just who he is.
It's just part of who he is naturally, and it's not like a whole stunt.
That's another good example.
Yeah, so, but you have like Adele and Sam Smith. They're probably one of the biggest names in R&B music, but it could be, I would say it's not, because there's so many different, it's like neo soul. Neo soul is not R&B. Neo soul is a whole different like thing, and then like funk is a whole different thing from rock. It's like two different like parts. It's in the same genre, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So like me, I would say like, and even Sabrina Claudio, even though she's like very R&B influenced, I would say she's more like alternative R&B instead of like directly R&B.
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
So there's always that aspect of it too as well. That it's like the dichotomy of what the the counterculture of the music or the counter genre of the genre is. It's always interesting. But I always say if people just give, and then I think it just goes into the aspect that since it is a business, the artists are the pawns, and since we are the pawns, the business aspect of it can create a whole bunch of confusion and a whole bunch of distrust between each artist, and that's why we don't have a lot of collectives. Like when Diddy did Bad Boy, it was like all of them together. They were fighting with each other. They had each other's backs. You had like the Rough Riders in hip hop. You had like those new industries coming up where it was a collective, and they all banded together and they were all a collective. And we don't have that anymore. There's just not a huge movement with that artists, and I believe it's because. And now, since we have more independent people rising up, it's starting to come back. And then, like how I talked with Who I Am last week about his collective, about bringing people together.
Cool.
And then, again, we're talking about bringing people together and trying to make sure that people stay together and help each other grow instead of keeping it all for ourselves. Since it's, and then I feel that's the reason why major labels are more scared, because they know that since it's in our hands, we're gonna do it where everybody has a seat at the table, instead of just some people at the seat at the table.
Yeah.
So I think like it's an interesting transition.
Yeah, it is.
So, do you have any thoughts about that? I know I was talking for a while.
I would Yeah, I would say that's the one thing that's missing in the music industry is just the teamwork behind it. I mean, each artist has a team, but I think just being open to talk and chat and spending the time to take a day out and go to like a high school or something and talk about it. And I think that's what it's about. Like, it's not about it shouldn't be about the money. It shouldn't be, I mean, you need money to live.
Yeah, you need money to live.
But at the end of the day, you want to leave a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to leave a legacy than impacting the next generation, in my opinion. And, you know, the collectives, like you were saying, like, I don't know, I think it could be a terrible thing or it could be a good thing, depending on the true motives of the people in that collective, you know. But that's another thing I even think about, but is important. You know, I think it's important and could be a tool that is used to, you know, promote the others and create. I was listening to the Who Am I podcast, and they were talking about the charity work he was doing. Like, that's really cool. You know, he's you know, getting his heads together with other people and putting on something for the community. That's awesome. And that's, I feel like we should do more. I want to do more of that. And that's definitely a good point.
So, since we're off of that, I just have a few more questions I want to ask you, and then we'll end.
Cool.
So, it talked about your dream collaborations. It talked about your influence. It talked about which made you want to get into being a singer-songwriter and stuff like that. So here's going to be a hard question. I know it's going to be hard for you, but I have to ask it as well.
Yes.
So, from all the songs that you have created, coming from you transitioning over into some of your development with all the different things that have happened over the years, what is your favorite song? I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. I would, besides the new ones that are coming out, I would say off the last CD, which is the only songs I really have out right now. Well, I'll do two things. Off my YouTube, with all the YouTube covers, my favorite cover that I've done is a 2017 hit mashup. And so I took all the number one hits of 2017 and I made a video with xylophone and a drum pad and keyboard, and I just mashed it all up into 3 minutes. So that took a lot of time.
I know that editing was horrible.
It was a lot, but people loved it, and I'm really proud of that. Another thing is for original music. Man, I'm most proud of, I guess I will say this, I'm most proud of the song Transitions. It's actually the title track of the EP because it was so hard to get right, and it had to be on there. And I needed live piano, so I went out and I recorded live piano. And, you know, doing this all on your own is so labor intensive. And it's such an epic song that when you listen to the whole CD and you get to this song, it's like, I get it. You know, it's finally there. It's sort of the period at the end of the sentence. And it was so much work that to listen back and listen is about 5 minutes. And so to listen to everything that I put into it, just so I could sit there and be like, wow, this is, let me take a moment and appreciate, what I've done and be proud of it. And that is definitely a song that I'm really proud of putting out. I don't think it's the catchiest, but I think it's definitely one of my favorites that I've done as far as work goes.
Speaking on the editing process for that video. So we're both doing videos. I usually use, I haven't got a chance to buy Final Cut Pro, but did you use Final Cut Pro for this?
For that, I actually used Adobe Premiere. I used to use Final Cut, but I found Premiere has more options for editing, for coloring, and you can export in better quality and things like that. So, but what made that video hard was it was actually a single shot, and I had all the instruments set up, so I had to perform it like perfect. So every time I would get to, there was one part in the video where I threw my stick up and I caught it, and I would drop it like midway and not have to start all over, So it was long, but after it's like, okay, that was kind of impressive, So I like sort of challenging myself to incorporate, see how all these number one songs can actually fit into an interesting mashup. I like doing mashups a lot.
So some ending stuff. Do you have any live performances coming up, and are you doing any internships?
I don't have anything lined up. Well, tonight I'm playing at Stockton. But yeah, I'm playing at Stockton, and then I'm playing in Asbury Park in April or May. So you'd be able to find me all those dates on my Facebook and my social media accounts. But those are my live performances.
Okay. Do you have any internships?
I'm actually interning with my brother's business. So he has a brand development company. Yeah, so I'll be working with him, and
I still need to find mine.
It's not easy.
I'm dying.
Yeah, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be doing a lot of social media stuff.
That's great. That's going to help you out for your social media as well. So that's always good.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I had for you today.
All right, great.
I really want to thank you for being here and letting me interview you. I hope everything was comfortable for you.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Okay, that's great for me to hear. So do you just want to give out your social media and stuff like that for everybody to listen to? And just give them some more music that you would like them to listen to. So you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media accounts at Tyler Sarfert, and that's TylerSarfert. On everything, you just type that in, and on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere else, I'll have my album Transitions that we were talking about today. And in the next couple of months, you'll hear that great new music that I have been so diligently working on, and I know you'll like it. So come out to a show and come say hi. I'm more than willing to talk, which is why I like podcasts, because I like talking. So, thanks for listening. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Please figure out some local artists around your area and support them, guys, especially if they're independent. They need your help. They need your help to promote them. If they're good artists, help them get the amount of respect that they deserve. And welcome to the Wavelength, as always. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.